So, my objective today is to make your life a little bit easier when it comes to making wise and healthy choices in your grocery shopping. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to provide you with a label reading system that is both simple, that is fun, and makes for a victorious shopping experience. Okay? So no longer are we going to be tricked by pretty packaging and all these marketing tricks. All right, so reading labels, that's what we're getting into today. So the objectives is we want to apply health guidelines to food labels. We're going to be evaluating nutrition facts, and we're also going to be checking the ingredients. We want to understand the influence of marketing, and then we're going to take this label reading system that's simple, and we're going to put it to the test and see if it really works or how well it works for us. All right, so look at some of these names up here, these brand names. Do you guys recognize some of them? So Hain Pure Foods, right? We've also got Earth's Best Baby Organic Food. We have Health Valley. We have Garden of Eating, right? So let me ask you, when you go grocery shopping, how many of you make an attempt to read the labels? All right, and how many of you can say that you truly understand what all the claims and the numbers, right, and the percents mean? Somewhat, right? All right, so here's the thing. How can we tell which foods are the healthiest? So look at this one right here. It's encouraging us. Hey, read my label. I'm made by Hain Pure Foods. I'm all natural. I'm baked. I'm made with organic wheat flour, and I've got no hydrogenated oils, no artificial flavors. So to the average person, what would we think? That this is a good choice, that this sounds pretty healthy, right? So I'm not going to tell you guys whether this is healthy or not, but what I'm now going to do is provide you with this simple label reading system. But I also need to tell you that there are things that Americans are eating too much of. Number one, we're eating too much fat, and it's mainly the worst kinds of fat. This is saturated fat, trans fat. So these are the fats that really mess with your blood vessels and your cholesterol numbers. Also, we're eating too much sodium, too much refined sugars and sweeteners, too much refined carbohydrates, and grains. So we need to set some limits, and we're going to define these guidelines on a package. All right, so here goes our three-step label reading system. It's going to be in 2 rules here. First rule of thumb is to never, ever believe anything on the front of any package. So it's so important to ignore all front of package claims. Rule number 2, or step number 2, is always read the nutrition facts label, and step number 3 would be to always check the ingredient list. Okay? So let's just do a recap. What's rule number 1? Exactly, ignore the front. What is rule number 2? Read the nutrition facts label, and step number 3 would be read the ingredients, exactly. So the nutrition facts label right there, the middle column right there, it's always going to look like that. Okay, that's standardized. It will always look like that. So let's talk about fat. So let's talk about the fat that the human body needs. Well, the only fat that the human body needs is what's called essential fatty acids, okay? So now if we're eating from foods that are whole, plant-strong foods, then we will get our EFAs, or essential fatty acids. So we don't have to worry about this because it occurs naturally in our foods. And the national recommendations are 1 to 3% of calories coming from essential fatty acids. So that's not our concern. The concern, however, is that the average person in the US is taking in 35% of calories coming from total fat, and that is too much. So not only are we getting a lot of fat, we're also not even meeting our EFAs, our essential fatty acids. All right, so the recommended ranges the acceptable macronutrient distribution range for fat from the National Academy of Science is 20 to 35% of calories coming from total fat. And the World Health Organization, they're saying 15 to 35% of calories coming from total fat. Now, some difference there. So what is the healthy guideline for packages? Meaning like, well, what do we know what to look for when we pick up an item that's in a package or it's in a can? So where do you think we would recommend you get your food from? The processed food aisles or from the produce section? the produce section, right? A lot of fruits and vegetables, even whole grains and legumes. Okay, so we have to understand that when we're talking about the fat content in bananas and pears and dark leafy greens, it's going to be a lot different from our packaged food items. So we have to allow for a little bit of flexibility, a little give, a little leeway. So we're saying if you do pick up a packaged item, in terms of calories from fat, no more than 20%. And the reason why we set it at 20% is because it helps to lower the calorie density. Has anyone ever heard of calorie density? We've heard of calories, but what about calorie density? That's not too familiar. So calorie density is the number of calories in a given weight of food. So if I have a pound of apples, it's how many calories are in that pound of apples. A pound of carrots, how many calories are in that pound of carrots. And it also, setting it at 20%, helps to limit the unhealthy fats. So let's practice here. Let's say you pick up a box of crackers, okay? And you know that to your left, it will say calories and it will have the number. And then usually on that same line, it'll say calories from fat, and it will have a number. Is that clear? Is everyone with me there? Okay, so we understand that if I pick up a packaged item, I need to make sure that it's no more than 20% of calories from fat. So I have to first figure out what is the 20% of 100 calories for my box of crackers. And it is 20. So for those who don't like math, I just did 10% and I doubled it. I got 20. So once I get my 20%, which here is 20, that's the upper limit. And when I look at my calories from fat that's on the right, okay, I have to make sure that it's not going to exceed 20. So let's do another example. Say I pick up another item, and this item is 200 calories. And I have to first figure out what is 20% of 200. So it's 40. So 40 is my upper limit. And I have to make sure that when I look at calories from fat, that number will not exceed 40. Are we all clear about this? And then let's do one more example. So I pick up another item. This is 320 calories. I find out what's 20% of 320. I find it 64. I look at 64 as my upper limit number. And then when I look at calories from fat, it can't go above what? 64. There you go. So we'll practice a little more at the end. So we also want to watch for the types of fat. So saturated fat. There is no essential need. So did anyone know that banana, pears, even iceberg lettuce has saturated fat? Yes. But listen, it has such a minimal amount that is not our concern. In fact, every single thing that we put into our bodies has saturated fat. Now, we obviously want to eat the foods that are lower, have a lower content of saturated fat than other foods that have a high content of saturated fats. The problem today is that most people in the US take in 11 to 12% of calories coming from saturated fat, and that is too much. So what are the recommended ranges when it comes to saturated fat, knowing that everything that we're going to put in our body contains saturated fat? Well, the USDA says no more than 10% of calories to come from saturated fat, and the American Heart Association says no more than 7% of calories to come from saturated fat. Now, we also we understand that there are healthy fats and there are unhealthy fats. Okay, so we want to look out for unhealthy fats, such as saturated animal fat. So when we're looking at the ingredients, we want to avoid such sources as lard, butter, chicken fat, dairy, cheese. And dairy is one of the richest sources of saturated fat in the American diet. We also want to look out for not just the saturated animal fats, but also the saturated vegetable fats. So for instance, coconut oil, cocoa butter, palm oil, palm kernel oil, and in fact, we move forward and we also want to avoid man-made saturated vegetable fats, partially hydrogenated vegetable fats like Crisco, margarine, shortening, or we say, you know what, let's make this real easy. When you look at the ingredients, actually avoid all oils. So, based on what I just explained to you today about in terms of 20% of calories from fat, no more than that, let's say if you were to pick up an item and it's low in fat and it's less than 20% of calories from fat, but it has oil in the ingredients, based on what I just said, would you think that we'd recommend that you throw that item into your cart or put it back on the shelf? Ooh. I know, it's the no oil part but what we would say is actually put it back on the shelf. Yes. All right, let's move forward. So let's talk about sodium. So that sodium is another thing that Americans are eating too much of. In terms of what's the recommended safe minimum, well, actually, how much can we get by with? They say we can get by, studies say that we can get by with as little as 125 milligrams of sodium. Now, if we are eating from whole natural foods, we will meet our safe requirement because it's naturally occurring in foods such as fruits, vegetables, and whole grains and legumes. We'll get about 350 to 500 milligrams. Now, the problem today is this is how much we're taking in. Average person in the US is taking 4,000 milligrams of sodium per day. The recommended ranges from the Institute of Medicine, from the American Heart Association, from the USDA, they're saying, look, if you can, keep your sodium content below 1,500 milligrams. But then they're giving us a grace period. And they're saying, okay, we're going to give you a little flexibility here. So certainly don't go past 2,300 milligrams. So if we were to go past this upper limit that's set by the American Heart Association, they would consider that what? A problem, right? Well, we've got a problem because 90% of people in the US are going past the upper limit on a daily basis. So look at this here. 1 teaspoon of salt is 2,200 milligrams. That's a lot. So we have our healthy guideline for sodium, 1,500. If we can keep it below that, that's great. But certainly don't go past 2,300 milligrams if you can. So where's the salt coming from? Because that's a real key to getting well. Well, over 75% is hidden in our processed restaurant foods. Restaurant foods is a whole other discussion, but right now we're talking about our processed food items. Okay, so the average person takes in about 2,300 calories per day, and look at that. It's similar to the upper limit for sodium. So you notice the ratio, right? Calories to sodium, 1 to 1. So here's the thing. I'm going to pick up a box of crackers, and my crackers are going to say 100 calories. So then when I look at my sodium, I want to make sure my sodium doesn't go past what? 100. Exactly. So now we do allow for exceptions, condiments. So they can go up as high as 4 to 1. And this is with the assumption that 50% or more of our calories are coming from whole, natural foods. And it's with the assumption that you're treating condiments as a condiment and not as an entree. All right? Okay. So let's look at this. So Near East, right? So we've all seen this product. This is promoted as a health food, correct? So it's 100% natural. It's couscous. It cooks in 5 minutes. And look, this one won the Smart Choices Made Easy Award. So who do you think gave them that award? Themselves. So what is the first rule of thumb? What did we learn? What's the first rule? Do not believe anything on the front. So we're talking about sodium here. So let's look here. We've got our original plain couscous. The calories is 220. Look at the sodium. The sodium is 5. So based on what we're talking about, does it make it? Is it okay? No problem. But now let's look at tomato lentil. We're thinking this is going to be good. Tomato lentils can't be that bad. So the calories is 190, and can anyone read the sodium for me? 670. And that is for only 1 serving. Now I'm going to ask you, who eats 1 serving of couscous? We eat 2 to 3 servings of couscous, right? So we go 2 or 3 times 670, and what has happened to our sodium content for the day? We're done. Not we're done for the day, we're done for the week. Too much. All right, so now Let's just do a brief recap really quickly. So we're saying in terms of calories from fat, no more than 20%, whoops, and in terms of sodium to calories, 1 to 1. So now let's look at another area where we need to set some guidelines, and we're talking about sugar. So sugar is a preferred source of fuel for the body. In fact, it is the only source of fuel for the brain. So yes, it occurs in fruits and beets and corn, but that's not the issue, because these foods are part of a package that also includes vitamins and minerals and antioxidants and phytochemicals and so forth. That's not the issue. The issue is our added concentrated refined sugars, such as brown sugar, raw sugar, honey, molasses, barley, malt, fructose, corn syrup, and agave. So there is a debate. There is a debate that agave is better than brown sugar. But it's a completely misguided debate, because what it comes down to is sugar is still sugar. And it's these refined added sugars that account for 20% of our caloric intake. That's 500 calories per day. And pretty much, average person in the US is eating 140 pounds of sugar per person. So what does that look like? The next time you go to your grocery store, go to the sweetener aisle and look for those, say, Domino sugars, the 5-pound bag, and make sure you put 28 of those in your cart. That's 140 pounds of sugar that each person is consuming each year. All right, so the recommended limit set by the World Health Organization, they're saying no more than 10% of calories to come from added sugar. American Heart Association, they're actually giving us what's called a prudent upper limit, saying for women no more than 100 calories per day, and for men no more than 150 calories per day, which accounts for about 5% of calories from added sugar. This is not enough to do any harm to your health. So we're saying it's all right by us. Okay, so the main concern is added sugar. The nutritional facts label, they will never distinguish between added sugar and naturally occurring sugar. So if our concern is added sugar, where are we going to look for this? In the back, but where specifically? In the ingredients, exactly. So you want to check the ingredient list, because ingredients are listed in descending order of weight. So we want to avoid any added sugar in the first 3. I would actually say the first 3 to 5 ingredients. In fact, the further down, the better. So now let's talk about carbohydrates. It's the preferred source of fuel for the body. We hear it a lot about athletes carb loading. There's good reason for that. But the problem today is the 90 to 95% carbs that most Americans are consuming are junk carbs. So we are eating less than a serving of whole grains per day. And again, just like the sugar, the nutritional facts label, they will not distinguish between refined and unrefined carbs. They'll just list it as total carbs. So if our concern once more is refined carbs, where are we going to find them? Ingredients, absolutely. So we want to check the ingredient list. We want to make sure that we are looking for whole grain products. It must say whole, rolled, stone ground, or cracked. If it does not, and excuse me, rolled, stone ground, and cracked, these are all acceptable terms set by the FDA to mean whole grain. If it says wheat, white, durum, semolina, bleached, unbleached, artichoke, and enriched flours, and it does not have the word whole in front of it, be assured it is white flour. But then when someone will say, well, what about the brown crackers that are made with wheat flour? Guess what? It's white flour, and it's dyed with caramel coloring. All right, so let's do a little bit of evaluating of the product. So let's see right here, we have our box of crackers. Our calories are 130, and let me just put all this right up here. Okay, so calories are 130, and what is 20% of 130? 26, okay. So does it make it? Look at the calories from fat. Calories from fat says 40. Does it make it in terms of calories from fat? No, it does not. Exactly. Now, what about the sodium? The calories, once more, is 130. The sodium is 370. Does it make it? No, too much. There we go. So this product we totally reject. And look at the product that we just reviewed. Remember this one? This was the one that was encouraging to, hey, read my label. I'm natural. I'm made from pure foods. I'm baked. I'm made with organic wheat flour. And I've got no hydrogenated oil nor artificial flavors. So again, we can't believe anything on the front. So we've been fooled. And as a result, after 25 years, and I think I know why you're smirking when you see, do you see it? Well, I don't know. But I just want to let you guys know right here, you see the little boy? That's not a fat suit. That's the real deal right there. That's the real deal. So we are now heavier than ever. And the reason is because we're eating more sugar, we're eating more salt, we're eating more refined flours, we're eating more oils. So not only are we heavier than ever, we're sicker than ever. So let's put our label reading system to the test even more so. So we have our bottle of Pam here. So look at the calories, it's 0. Fat calories is 0. It's looking really good. And then the sodium, 0. Let's look at the ingredients. Olive oil. Do you think we would say, put this back on the shelf or put it into your cart? That is correct. Let's look at another product. So Dr. Praeger's, has anyone seen these products before? Dr. Praeger's, okay. So this is all natural, no cholesterol, reduced sodium, low saturated fat, GMO-free, no trans fat. It's made with oat bran, and it's a great source of fiber. Are we going to believe them? No. Let's turn it around. So we see calories is 110. What is 20% of 110? 22, exactly. Calories from fat, there it reads 40. Does it make it? No, it does not. Let's look at my sodium. My sodium is 250. Does my sodium make it? No. No, it does not. So I don't think we have to even check the ingredients at this point. We put it back on the shelf. So let's look at this one. Anyone ever seen these products before? Back to Nature products? A lot of people think that these are healthy, correct? So let's see here. They've got no artificial preservatives, flavorings, or colorers, 0 grams of trans fat. Now, for the person who's going to take this off the shelf and they're going to look at this list right here, what does it look like? What does it look like? You would think there's no need to turn it over because those are the ingredients, right? No need to turn it over. But what have we learned? What is the first rule? Don't believe anything on the front of a package. Exactly. So we turn it around. We find out that the calories is 70. What is 20% of 70? 14, exactly. Look at my calories from fat. Does it make it? No. Let's look at my sodium. It's 135. Does it make it? No, it does not. Now, let's just, for fun, let's look at the fake list of ingredients compared to the USDA standardized list of ingredients. Oops. So let's see here. First ingredient is listed as organic unbleached enriched flour, which pretty much stands for what? White flour. Exactly. And then we go on to our organic expeller pressed oleic safflower oil, which sounds just so healthy. And then organic ground wheat flour. So you see, we're just put it back on the shelf at this point. So, hey, are there any products out there that meet these guidelines besides romaine lettuce, right? So let's see. All right, so we have our kavli. It's all natural. It's a whole grain crisp bread. It's a low-fat, cholesterol-free food. Are we going to believe them? No. So let's turn it around. 70. What is 20% of 70? 14. Let's look at the calories from fat, which is listed as 5. Does it make it? Yes, it does. Let's look at our sodium, which is 55. Does it make it? Yes, it does. And let's look at our ingredients. Whole rye flour, whole wheat flour, water, and salt. Sounds good, right? Put it in the cart. So let's look at this one. Walnut Acres tomato basil sauce. It's low sodium. It's fat-free. It's even organic. Are we going to believe them? No. Turn it around. What is 20% of 40? Exactly. What is, in terms of the fat calories, it's 0. Does it make it? Yes, it does. In terms of our sodium, does it make it? Sodium is 20. Yes, it does. Let's look at our ingredients. So it has tomato puree, diced tomatoes, onions, basil, organic garlic, evaporated cane juice, and organic spices. And yes, evaporated cane juice is sugar, but where is it on the ingredient list? All the way down, exactly. So let's look at our Eat An Organic rice and beans. It's low salt, it's low fat. We're not gonna believe them. We're gonna turn it around. What's 20% of 120? Absolutely, 24. Calories from fat is 10. Does it make it? Yes, it does. Let's look at our sodium. Does it make it at 100? Yes, it does. And then let's look at our ingredients. So all it is brown rice, black turtle beans, onion flakes, paprika powder, garlic powder, sea salt, cumin powder, cayenne powder, cinnamon powder. Good, right? It's just rice, beans, and spices. All right, so that looks good. So we would definitely throw that in our cart as well. So basically, we've rated these foods in terms of how we set these guidelines. It's based on looking at all of these different items on added sugar, sodium, whole grain, saturated fat, calorie density, animal protein, because as I said earlier, there's just many of these things on this list right here we're just eating in excessive amounts, and it's causing a problem. Okay, so just to do a really quick recap, we want to make sure we focus on our unprocessed, our whole natural foods, which includes our fruits, our vegetables, our whole grains, and our legumes. We want to make sure that we fill our shopping cart, we fill our home, our body with these foods. Yes, if you want to pick up a packaged item, it's not a problem. But if you do, we now have some guidelines. So for instance, we want to always check the nutrition facts label. We want to make sure that the product is no more than 20% of calories from fat. We want to look at the calories to sodium. We want to make sure it's 1-to-1. And then we're always going to check the ingredients. We're going to avoid the bad fats. We're going to limit the sugar, none in the first 3 to 5 ingredients. And we're always going to look for the word whole, or rolled, cracked, or stone ground. Okay, so basically, that is it. Thank you so much. You bet. You bet. Yeah. Yeah.
What's the verdict on brown rice? Is any brown rice okay, or is it just...
Brown rice is great.
Okay.
Not a problem with brown rice.
Specific?
Yeah, I mean, just as long as it says brown rice, you're good. It's totally fine. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah.
What about peanut butter? So it's probably better to not buy the natural peanut butter and just buy regular, or is there a certain...
Peanut butter, you have to be a little, and this is really any nut butter. Make sure, like, the healthiest peanut butter or nut butter option would be the one that just says dry roasted peanuts without the oil and without the sugar and all this other flavorings that they want to add to it. So it's fine. As with any nut butter, it is calorie dense. So if weight gain would be a concern, then you just want to limit your intake some. But it's fine. Yeah.
Is there a preferred brand of Greek yogurt, or is it a no for you?
I can't say a specific, you were asking a specific brand of a yogurt? Greek yogurt. Now here's the interesting thing. We actually do not promote dairy, and we have our concerns of why we do not promote dairy. But that is not to say that if you want your Greek yogurt, you can't have it. You have it. And so in that case, I don't know what is the best brand, but I could say just go with the brand that you most love and see how's a way that I can make this even healthier by adding some natural fresh fruit to it. Yeah, sure. Anything else?
What's the best kind of oil for cooking?
I knew that question was going to come. So let's see. Since we are an oil-free product, we don't promote one oil over the other, and we can always share concerns with. That's a later discussion. So as opposed to answering what is the best oil, I would just say with any oil that you most love, watch your intake, because a tablespoon of oil is 120 calories, and these days, we'll build our healthy salad at the salad bar, and then we grab a certain oil thinking that this is the optimal oil, and if a little is good, more is better. So we're just gonna pour it all over, right? So when you cook, as opposed to cooking with 2 tablespoons of oil, say, you know what, let me bring this down to a tablespoon of oil. So just limit your intake some. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you recommend for salad dressing?
For salad dressing, so many recommendations, from using lemon, lime, a balsamic vinaigrette, making your own salad dressing from a balsamic vinaigrette, dried figs, even mustard, putting that in a blender with fresh herbs, taking a white wine vinegar and putting, say, fresh rosemary, fresh tarragon into it so it can really seep up that flavor. A number of things that you could do for a salad dressing. Anything else? All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Drew Rosen, and we're welcome to New York Stock Exchange to Whole Foods Market Tribeca. for a healthy eating tour as part of our Wellness Club initiative on healthy eating education.
So we're on the grocery shopping tour. This is the produce section. As you notice, it's the hugest section of the store. It should also be the biggest section of your grocery cart as well as your plate. There's different colors, different vitamins, different minerals in every type of vegetable. You don't have to know any of it. All you have to know is to search for variety. Dark green leafy vegetables, okay? Those are where the darker the color, the better off it is.
The average human being isn't going to eat a lot of leafy vegetables because they just kind of, you buy them, you mean well, they sit in your refrigerator and then you throw them out a week later,
Yes.
right? So we'll take some kale or some chard or some spinach even, throw it in a blender with half an apple, half a banana, some water, and the fruit of your choice, right? We threw some blueberries in there yesterday, and it's a great way to start the day actually, because you get vegetables, you get fruit, and there's no way you'd sit down and eat a plate of spinach and blueberries for breakfast, but if they're in a drink, you'll drink it.
Great breakfast. It's a great alternative to having to cut, make produce. You just throw it in, put a straw in, and drink it out.
Yeah, there you go.
6 to 11 servings a day, that's how many vegetables you want to consume. So you're already banging out about 5. So you really have to try to sneak in vegetables at every single meal.
This is one of my favorite foods. We get the hummus from Whole Foods every week.
Yes.
Good for us or not good for us? I know it's heavy in calories, but I think it's got all good stuff in it, right?
It's good fat.
Right.
You just want to be careful of the calorie content because serving size is important. The serving size is 2 tablespoons. And it gives you, right?
Oops.
It gives you 50 calories. So fine,
Yeah.
Nobody eats 2 tablespoons,
No
right?
one does
So
eat 2
if you're
tablespoons.
gonna, how much would you finish this whole thing?
I thought that was a serving actually.
Okay. So the whole
Easily.
container is like
Oh, easy.
maybe 1,000 calories.
Yeah, yeah.
So just in one snack, you want to shoot for about 500 to 250. All right, here in the seafood section, Whole Foods has mapped out for us the best practices for the ecosystem. They're most sustainable. They don't even sell the stuff that is harmful to the environment. They sell the best stuff. Fish is amazing here at Whole Foods. It is fresh, fresh, fresh. Fish is very low in calories, high in protein. So couple this with fresh vegetables for a summer meal.
About as good as it gets.
Okay, so we've landed in the meat section, all right? The basics of meat, lean cuts of meat, skinless, boneless, okay, is gonna be the best for you. So you don't just always think chicken. We've got skinless, boneless pork, that's lean. We have ground turkey, we have whole turkey, so it doesn't have to just be chicken all the time.
We all hear a lot about organic,
Yes.
and most of us have no idea really if there's any substantive difference. So is there a real difference?
It's regulated by the government,
Okay, good.
so it can't just say, like
It can't
all
just
natural.
say organic, it can't just say that.
It has to be certified, exactly.
Our employees or Whole Foods employees, if they're buying organic, they can be comfortable that it's really, that it passed the test that other foods did not pass.
Absolutely.
Okay,
You're going to
good.
pay a premium, but you're going to pay for your
that's
health.
fine. Yeah, you're paying for your health. You were pointing at the red meat from a distance, but we're not going to go there.
I was pointing at it.
Distance? Are we allowed to eat it once in a while as a good source of protein?
Always. It has great source of protein, creatine, amazing things in there, but you just don't want to eat every day because it's high in saturated fats.
One of my favorite little things to snack on, which I know is not healthy, but don't think less of me.
Okay. I won't judge.
Some good fresh crackers, maybe some whole wheat crackers. They have an unbelievable selection of cheese here.
So the harder cheeses, the better quality. Spanish cheese, goat cheese is going to be better for you. Cheese is high in saturated fat, high in calories, so in moderation you're fine. Small amounts. What people tend to go overboard with is a huge amount. Add alcohol to that, and then you lose all consciousness of how much you're actually eating.
But the whole point is to lose consciousness.
Right, right. The higher quality stuff, the less of it you have to actually eat, just like with olive oil. Just a little bit, it's going to taste amazing, really savory.
So one more time, if people are going to eat cheese, what are some of the better cheeses to eat?
The harder cheeses, the
Harder
Spanish
cheeses, right.
cheese, the goat cheese,
Feta especially.
feta,
Feta's good cheese.
and it's all right here. So we're here in the tomato sauce section. Common meal is pasta. You can do it healthy by doing the gluten-free pastas or the regular whole wheat pasta. And sauce is a big choice. You just want to throw that on top. It's going to taste good. A regular sauce, 335 milligrams of salt. Now, is this a big deal, this much salt for your pasta sauce? Not really. But if you couple that over your entire day with cheese, with a light snack,
Why do you
with...
keep pointing at me
I
at the
mean,
cheese
because
thing?
you
I
mentioned the
mentioned that I like cheese once in a while. Now you're pointing at me talking about cheese. I drink, I eat a green drink. I drink a green drink for breakfast.
You can
I
have
drink
your
soy
cheese.
milk. I can have cheese once
You
in a
can
while.
eat
Come
it
on.
too.
All right, so go ahead. Back to
That's it.
our
No,
regularly
that's it.
scheduled program.
We're here. We're good. So over the entire day, it's gonna add up. Okay, so we're in the pasta section. We just talked about the sauce. Now we're actually in the meat of it, really.
So a lot of people think pasta's just starch. There's nothing good about it. Like, what do you think about
the
what's your
white-
advice on pasta?
The white stuff is not good, okay? Just this plain white stuff, because what they did, they took the healthy, fibrous wheat and they broke it down and they took
Right.
all the good stuff out. So that stuff is bad. That's gonna shoot your blood sugar way up. It's gonna leave you, after a big bowl of pasta, you're gonna be like, you wanna pass out, go to sleep, okay?
Good call.
You eat the whole wheat stuff, it's better. Organic whole wheat pasta
All right.
is amazing for you. It's gonna do that blood sugar stuff less. It's worth turning it over because you want to look at the ingredients as well. The ingredients:
I assume someone can actually read these labels, but okay. All right.
organic whole wheat semolina, one ingredient. That's it. Do you guys eat bread, sandwiches? You know, white versus brown. Everyone knows that brown is better. Brown because it's whole wheat. Be careful that on the label it says whole wheat. Whole grain doesn't mean whole wheat. That word is not regulated. Wheat is in the ground, and that's the product. Whole grain just means a bunch of grains, or multi-grain. 7 grain, 12 grains, just means it has a lot of grains, okay? So the first ingredient, you want it to say 100% whole wheat flour.
Well, so that's a good question. So is whole wheat better for you than sort of 7-grain bread if it's organic and...
Yes, because they're typically going to put other stuff in there.
On behalf of the New York Stock Exchange, on behalf of me, and on behalf of Larry, thanks to both of you for giving up part of your morning. I think we all learned a lot. Hopefully your employees and our employees will learn a lot also, and hopefully I think you were clearly a very, very informed tour guide. So thanks for that, because what you really reminded us too is it's actually pretty simple to just eat smarter and shop smarter. And I think the Wellness Club idea is a great idea. Encouraging people to be healthy and save money, it's a great combination. So thank you guys for that. Good luck to Whole Foods.
Thank you very much. I
Thanks
appreciate
a
it.
lot.
Thank you for
Appreciate
coming.
it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
Thanks very
you
much.
guys.
Thank you very
All
much.
right. Thanks everybody. Eat healthy.